everyone, this is Myth, your life and performance coach, and welcome to the Actually You Can podcast. Actually You Can is more than just a fun phrase to say. It's a philosophy of limitless potential, a mindset, an attitude, a conviction. Most importantly, it's about to make you achieve what you might never have thought possible. On this show, we discuss strategies for growth for ambitious individuals looking to achieve big things and live a thriving, fulfilled life. You'll hear from inspiring guests who will share their journeys, challenges, and lessons learned. And I'll be sharing insights and actionable takeaways from my aligned results framework that will help you to align your goals, mindset, and strategies to reach your highest potential. Be sure to hit subscribe on whatever platform you're listening to so you can easily find this podcast again and stay updated with new episodes dropping every week. In this episode, I had the opportunity to speak with Nate Zeleznick, a breathwork and energy work expert based in Salt Lake City, Utah. Nate's mission is to empower individuals to unlock their highest potential and energies through his unique approach that combines ancient practices with modern technology to help his clients unlock their true power and live a life of vitality and fulfillment. During our conversation, we explore Nate's Integrated Ascension model and the inspiring stories of transformation and healing that have resulted from his work. If you're interested in exploring new avenues for personal growth and performance, this episode is for you. Let's get to it. Hi, Nate. Welcome to the show. It's such a pleasure to have you here today.
Thank you, Meth. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm looking forward to this a lot.
And so we're going to talk to human potential, human performance. And the reason I'm a bit vague about that is because I feel like you offer such a unique perspective on this subject that I'm really excited to dig into more detail with you. So before we do that, I'd love to hear more about you. Who is Nate and what is it that you do?
All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and give you a quick rundown. My name is Nate Zeleznick from a small town called Huntsville here in Utah in the United States. And I'll just kind of give you a brief overview of my mission, vision, and purpose. So my mission is to help as many leaders, CEOs, influencers, athletes, people who are influential to millions, level up their life in every single way, physically, mentally, emotionally, energetically, and spiritually, with a very unique form of breath work and energy work that only one other American besides myself is authorized to teach in the entire country. And so my vision is to see tens of millions of people breathing properly, learning how to harness their higher abilities and their energies in order to help spread more peace, more love, more connection, but also, and very importantly so, to be able to not just survive, but to thrive in the upcoming ecological and societal changes that are happening right now. No one can deny that we have the most toxic water, food, air, mental chatter, all kinds of negative or harmful EMF, 5G, these things, but also what we're programmed on our TV, on our computer screens, and in our own minds that break down and destroy our physical body and help us. Well, they help us in a lot of ways. They teach us. But what they're doing is they're also shortening our lifespan so that we're not having as long of a lifespan. And myself, my big purposes is to help as many people have the longest, not just health span, but fun span they possibly can.
I love what you touched on there about lifespan and fun span, because I know with a lot of my clients that I see on a day-to-day basis, trying to sell someone, oh, you can have a really long life, doesn't necessarily sound sexy. I mean, lots of people, sure, they could think they want to live for a very long time, but when in a moment you're faced with, drinking alcohol with friends or eating some really delicious cake or doing all those things that we know are not necessarily that's interest for our longevity, the long-term lifespan isn't really front of mind. So I'm interested to hear from you. How did you come up with the term fun span, and what does that mean for you and your clients?
Oh, well, with my fun span, I just kind of pulled that one out of, where. Because I was, if you think about it, life is really a game, and we're here to have experience, right? And that's the thing about experience. You can't shut it off, and it's ongoing. No matter what, you're going to be having an experience. And so you get to choose, what do I prefer to experience now? And also looking at the situations as being for our own growth that we all bring to ourselves. big proponent of radical responsibility, that no matter what, whether you're a person who died in the Holocaust, you're Hitler himself, you are the Dalai Lama, we bring everything to us for our soul to learn and to have experience. And it's also the opportunity for us to then choose differently in order to get a different result. So why it's really important for me as far as a fun span is because if we do have this opportunity to choose that which we prefer, I like to help grown-ups be kids again in a lot of ways, because we lose that and we lose ourselves. And so when we do something where we get to use this amazing amusement park, that's really what this is. It's a 37 trillion cell amusement park where we are this divine, amazing being, and we have this body for a short period of time. And yet so many people who live to be, say, 75 years old, they basically live the same day every day for 75 years and get to the end of it and say, what the hell happened? And it's because they were not being conscious, aware, and present through as many moments as they possibly could in their life. And so that's one thing that I love to do, is help people with this health span. And as far as longevity is concerned, yeah, you're right. A lot of people, especially when we're young, we're like, oh, I will never be 30. That's so old, you know? But here's an interesting thing, Beth. Those people who just thought that way, and maybe we were part of that group, we get to be in our 40s and we say, wow, time is just flying so fast. Slow down. Stop. How did my babies go from being babies to college graduates? And it's just a blink of an eye. And it's because we spend so much of our time unconscious running these different programs over and over and over that we just lose out on actually living. And so my goal is to help as many people truly live in the moment, but as powered up and as powerful as they possibly can. And that's one thing that this Integrated Ascension Method, which I founded, it's based upon a very special form of breath work that no one else in the world has. So if anybody out there is thinking, well, I've done breath work before, great. And that's good. You need to do these things because we're the worst breathers in the animal kingdom. Humans suck at breathing. We make ourselves sick so much of the time just by breathing improperly. But if you've done, say, Wim Hof or holotropic breathwork, 5D breathwork, pranayama, Kundalini breathwork, those are beautiful. The one that I teach from an ancient royal system out of Java, Indonesia, called Merpati Putih, which is Indonesian for white dove. It is, I likened it earlier today in a conversation that most breathwork modalities are like trout, or they're like a salmon. But if you're in Australia, so you'll understand that the Merpati Putih system is more like a white pointer. It's more like a great white shark as far as the scope and the complexity and the speed that it gets results. It really stands alone. And it's really hard to convey that to people. So I just ask everyone to suspend their disbelief, try it, experience it, because belief is a poor substitute for knowledge. And yet so many people live their life in just running belief structures to the point where they would even die for it. Just look at the Crusades or so many religious zealots. They have no proof of what they believe, and yet they will die for that. Well, I like to go and experience. And, the thing is we have this amazing innate ability to transcend our physical body, to experience the universe from a position of consciousness, not slowed down matter. And when we're able to do that, it's like a bell. Once you ring it, you can't go back. And you would never want to. And so for me, that's sort of happening when I was about 12. About 12 years old, I was suicidal. I thought about taking the early exit almost every single day. One night, when I was laying down to sleep, my body became paralyzed and then it started vibrating. And I actually felt myself lit out of my body. And I turned over and I saw myself laying there. And then I got to travel. And I started doing that more often, these spontaneous out-of-body travels. And I really believe it was my soul telling you, Nate, okay, you're not going to exit early. There are much bigger things in store for you. The abuse that I was suffering at school, I wouldn't say suffering, but I was bringing to myself as a learning lesson. But at the time, it felt like suffering when you're a kid. All of this is here to teach you and to also help you have more compassion and more empathy for those people who are abused in this world so that you can go and help them rise to their highest states. And that's, I've helped blind people for many, many years. That's one of the reasons why I brought Marpati Putti to the United States, was to help blind people see. And it didn't take very long, Myth, before I learned that we're all blind. We just don't see what we don't see. And so with the Integrated Ascension Method, which has Marpati Putti mixed with biohacking and all kinds of 21st century technology that I've incorporated, I'm the only one in the world doing this. It helps people to basically see the world in a whole new way and really unlock different abilities that might go unnoticed their whole life, but we all have to some degree. This is like the secret recipe to unlock your X-Man or your Avenger abilities. Maybe not on that level, but is to help people really step into their true power of who they really are and what they came here to do, instead of just going through the 75 years, living the same day over and over and over again, getting to the end and having dreamt it all away.
I love everything about what you've just said, and what's really evident to me is that you have such a unique combination of past experiences that have enabled you to create this super unique method. And so I'd love to hear more about the experiences that you have. You mentioned that experience at 12, and that's like a profound experience to have at such a young age. What happened from there? How did you get into breath work and end up in Indonesia? What was that journey?
Well, thank you for asking. That's quite the journey. It'll make a great movie someday. So when I started having these out-of-body experiences, around the age of 16, I started martial arts training. Growing up, seeing ninja movies and Star Wars, I always wanted to be a ninja Jedi, like a ninja and a Jedi combined. Living in a small farm town, there's no opportunity to train in martial arts other than my brothers and I fighting a lot and me usually winning because I was the oldest. But besides that, once I was able to drive, the first thing I ever bought with my own money was a book called Journeys Out of the Body by Robert Monroe, the founder of the Monroe Institute here in Virginia in the United States, where he's a pioneer for out-of-body experiences and out-of-body travel. And when I found out, because growing up in a science-minded household, I was not part of the religion that is dominant here in Utah, the Mormon religion. My mom is a nurse, my dad is a social worker, an EMT. I wanted to make sure that it was just, belief structures never really resonated with me. So when I saw that these people had trained CIA agents to remote view and to do out-of-body experiences to spy on the Soviets to see where their missiles were, I was like, okay, so our US government, most clandestine operatives, these people are using this. Okay, there's something here. It's not just me, and I'm not crazy, and hopefully don't have a brain tumor and I'm not dying. So around the age of 16, I started martial arts training. I started a lot of meditation. I was in college as a classical clarinetist on a full scholarship. So I was a musically inclined person. But my real passion was being in the gym, training in martial arts, and of course, girls and parties and things like college, right? So when I was about 23, I had an amazing synchrodestiny happen for me. And I call it a synchrodestiny because it's a synchronicity changes your life from that second forward. Being involved in martial arts for a long time, but it's kind of the strip mall martial arts everywhere here in the United States. You don't really find the martial arts that have a meditation, energy work, or an internal component. At that time, there was no UFC, so there was no cage fighting. It was all point sparring. And now it's even more into the brutality of fighting. But I knew that there was more. I'd seen documentaries on Shaolin monks and other energy masters, and I was like, wow, how can I do that? Well, the option was to go to China or go someplace and study for decades as a monk, and maybe you'll develop these things. I'm like, nope, can't give up my lifestyle in the West. But when I saw a little advertisement in a Black Belt magazine that guaranteed me inner power in 2 weeks, I was like, yes, instant chi. I get 2-week power. Let's do that. Granted, of course, it came with this little chintzy manual that had nothing of value in it, but it did have a VHS tape that had the most amazing martial arts that I'd ever seen in my whole life on it. And they were Indonesian martial arts. It was a documentary of different martial arts throughout Indonesia. But there was one group that really just floored me when I saw them. Most people have seen karate people or taekwondo practitioners break a board, break bricks. When I saw them breaking things like steel, stacks of iron, stone this thick, just barely touching it, I was just like, wow, that's incredible. If I do that in that manual, I could do that. But it had some people doing something that I never thought I'd see, which was, see, that's funny, considering what I'm about to say. People who were blindfolded or blind, who were able to drive cars through traffic in Jakarta, or they were able to fight full contact, bare knuckled with hoods over their head. It even had military members that could shoot targets. They had guns shooting targets out of people's hands, blindfolded. And then it showed some blind people who were able to see vibrationally and could read written material, even though their eyes were white as a sheet. And I thought, no way, this can't be real. Oh, no. I mean, I saw David Copperfield make the whole Statue of Liberty disappear. Come on, this has got to be a trick. But I also knew that after having years of these out-of-body experiences, these non-local functions of consciousness that I couldn't explain away, I knew they were real. Maybe Jedis are really real. And so I went to sleep. And the next day, ta-da, here goes the universe or my higher self, however you want to phrase that. I had an opportunity to seize a life path that I never thought I would be able to. And that happened by watching a blind woman almost die in front of me. She was going to cross the street, and her dog led her face first into the light pole instead of across the street. Now, right then in my car, it was almost like a lightning bolt hit me in the chest. I felt it in my chest that I knew I had to find those Indonesian people and see if they could help her. So I went on this search. Now, this is in the dial-up internet days. So I went to the library, the local library, because they had fiber optic or they had a DSL line. And I went on this search and it took me about 2 weeks, but found those people on the video. And I sponsored the very first demonstration of Merpati Putih in the United States in 1999. And demonstrations at my alma mater, Weber State University, the Utah Schools for the Deaf and Blind. And we even got to do a demonstration for the Indonesian ambassador in Washington, D.C. And his entourage and all the Indonesian community came in to the embassy to watch these demonstrations. So that's the quick story of how I got involved. But they had never let a non-Indonesian person learn, ever. In 500 years, it was forbidden. Now, at this time, over 1 million Indonesians had learned some of this, at least. That's what they told me. 1 million people. I'd never heard of this martial art, and yet it was the third largest single martial art in the world. But they kept it closed only for Indonesian nationals. So I didn't think I was going to be able to train. I didn't think that was a possibility. I just knew I had to help the blind people. And so they came over, and when they did, I met this Indonesian man at the airport here in Salt Lake City, Utah. And he said, "Hey, my name's Dr. Heru. I'm a good friend of the 11th generation royal family heir, and I'm going to hang out with you for a week." And I said, "Great." Little did I know that when the team was going to leave, the chairman of Merpati Putih looked at me and he said, "Nate, Dr. Heru is going to be your teacher." And I went, "Wait a minute, what?" No. I just want to help. I had so many excuses why this was too big for me. But he just asked me, "Well, how are you going to represent us if you don't know what we do?" I'm like, "You got me there." So the next week, I started my training with him in this little teeny exercise room in the basement of his condominium, and which even 15 years later, we went back in and we could still see they had not vacuumed. It was pretty good. So I don't even know how long it was before we were there, but when I say we, about 3 weeks after I started, one of my younger brothers joined me, and together we advanced through the ranks on a very advanced and very accelerated schedule, faster than anyone else had. Now, we both had a lot of martial arts experience, my younger brother way more than me, but we've worked as a team. And we were able to go through the ranks to a certain extent, to a certain level, faster than anybody they'd allowed. And then later on, about a year after that, we actually brought both of the 11th generation royal family heirs out of Java, brought them here to Utah. And they personally tested us, initiated us, and inaugurated our school as the very first outside branch of Merpati Putih in the world. Out of the thousands in Indonesia, there was only one outside, and that was ours. And so in January 2021, not 2021, January 2001, we opened our very first school in Ogden. And then for 20 years, we trained people from ages 5 to 85 in health and fitness, breath work from Merpati Putih, but also the full Merpati Putih martial arts, the vibrational vision where you can see without your eyes. Some people, very few people, but it does unlock other things for everyone. Energy healing, and then also women's self-protection, and then a health and fitness course, and children, youth courses. We trained hundreds and hundreds of kids over those years, helping to form on the next generation. And so it's been an honor for me to be able to be one of these people stewarding this message, because out of all the people that they could have chosen, I find it very interesting. And I don't know how to weave this in other than to say, I find it kind of auspicious that in the largest Muslim nation in the world, Indonesia, the founders of the heirs of Merpati Putih were Methodist, and they handed the torch to bring this to the world to two Ashkenazi Jews. Like, all right, well, if that's going to create a bridge energetically, there you go. And so that's the short version.
That's incredible. And I'm a big believer that nothing happens by coincidence or chance. And it's, yes, right place, right time, but also the right vehicle in terms of person to do it. So how incredible of an opportunity it is for you to be able to bring this gift for the rest of the world.
Yeah.
And I'm interested to hear you mentioned breath work. And I know, especially in Australia, breath work there's a lot of talk going about it. And it's quite obvious for you, it's not a fad. It's part of your lifestyle, and it's something that you deeply believe in. What does breath work mean to you, and why is it so important?
Sure. Everyone comes into this world with an inhale, and we all leave with an exhale. But in between those, we have about 22 to 29,000 chances a day to be conscious of it and to use it to our benefit. You know, I don't know that anybody will really dispute this, that breathing is one of the most important biological functions that we have. You can go for 3 weeks without food, 3 days without water. Just try going 3 minutes without air. So why this is really relevant, and breathwork is now the fastest growing holistic modality in the world by far, and for good reason. Thank you, Wim Hof, for bringing it and putting it center stage. We, like I said, we are the worst breathers in the animal kingdom. Most people breathe up here, the sternum level, or clavicular up here. They don't breathe in their belly, except for kids. Kids do. They know how to breathe right. But around pre-teenage, we start to, I've heard it said this way, women push them out, boys suck them in, so that we can impress opposite sex, or we can impress, let's say, the same sex, but impress other people. We'll just put it that way. And so with that in mind, when we do that, over 200 different health conditions have been attributed to improper breathing. You just let that sink in. 200 plus different kinds of sickness, disease, imbalance have been attributed directly to improper breathing. It makes sense that if we can breathe and make ourselves sick, we can also breathe right and make ourselves well again and make ourselves empowered. So breath work has been happening for roughly about 4,000 years, if I'm not mistaken, and I'm open to being wrong. It's in between 3,000 and 4,000 years of differing types. Okay. Here's the thing. There are different kinds of breath work. So breath work does not mean one thing. It means you're focusing on your breath. Yes. However, if you take, say, Wim Hof, where they hyperventilate, then you're supersaturating your body with oxygen, and your body actually thinks it's doing something fatal because your carbon dioxide lowers so deeply. Your kidneys have to pop out a lot of bicarbonate in order to balance the acidity in your blood. There's a lot of things that if you do it in a short term, it's healthy for you. But if you're doing it in the long term, it can be very detrimental. And then you have long, slow, deep breathing, a lot of the yogic breathing, which is beautiful. It puts you in a very nice state. Then you have things like Qigong, which Qigong literally means breath work. And same with pranayama, breath work. These things are designed, one of the benefits is to build more electricity in our body. Because if you have a larger battery and you have better flow throughout your body, stands to reason you're going to be healthier, have more vitality, be able to do the things that you want, potentially live longer. And then we have Merpati Putti, which it is based upon hypoxic breath work, mainly. Okay, so we do some of the hyperventilation. We do a lot of the meditation and slow deep breathing, but we also do long extended breath hold under tension with different breath locks and pushing the air in different parts of our lungs in different ways with our diaphragm and the structure of our body, coupled with what I like to call full body mudras. So people who are familiar with mudras, where you might touch your fingers in these different ways to connect different energetic circuits in your body, we do that not just with our hands, but with our entire body in very specific poses and movements to flow this energy through your body. And it's something that you can feel. That's not something that is obscure, like, oh, well, just imagine it. If you're doing this, your body does have a reaction right away. You can feel that energy. About 95% of people really feel a big difference in their energy right away within minutes. And so there is no one perfect way. There are many different ones that we can choose. If you want to go to Rome, so to speak, there are many roads, right? And so going to Rome, pardon me, we're all going to get there someday. How do you want to go? And so I encourage everyone to go out and experience the different breathwork systems that are out there. Find the one that really resonates with you, and also look at what the benefits are. If you're just hyperventilating to get high and see God, okay, well, that's fine. But if you're doing it for your longevity, you want to live a longer time, you want to have more vitality, more stamina, better immune system function, you want to have better athletic performance, you want to have more compassion, love, and peace in your heart. You want to feel a deeper connection with other people and all the energies around you. That's something that in Merpati Putti and my Integrated Ascension Method, we really focus and specialize in, and getting people results quickly. I've got some stories that almost miraculous within 5 minutes, that people have had amazing health turnarounds and perceptions that they never thought was possible.
What are some of those stories? I would love to hear, because I'm sure there's people out there that are like, yeah, I've tried breathwork before. It's just not for me. Or I did that hyperventilating and I had this really weird reaction and I hated it. And I loved how you shared that there's a lot of different ways to get to Rome. And I'm a big believer in that too. Just because one way didn't work out for you doesn't mean that there's another way that could work out for you. So I'd love to hear some of those success stories to help potentially inspire some people who maybe have ruled out breathwork to re-engage.
Without a doubt. So one thing that I caveat, full disclosure, Merpati Putti is not easy at all. It is quite literally, for a lot of people, the most challenging thing they've ever done in their whole life. Because every single time you do it, it's really not based upon anybody else. It's only based upon your own potential and your own performance. So you do your very best every single day. It might not be as good as it was yesterday, but as long as you're doing your best and going to your absolute limit, you're going to be making progress. And every day is different, right? So it's important just that we move our body, we stress our body, we stretch our body, and we breathe right every single day in order to have this great life. Now, one amazing story I'll tell you about, two actually. The first one is a gentleman by the name of Sean that was on a webinar, a virtual one with me. And I led everybody through this quick exercise, breath holding. Now, one thing that was interesting about Sean, when I noticed he was on the call, his arm was like this, just through the call. And he raised his hand and I said, yes, Sean. And he said, well, I had a massive stroke about 10 years ago, and I've been paralyzed on the left side of my body. I got choked out in a Brazilian jiu-jitsu gym and it gave me a stroke and I'm paralyzed. So can I still do this? And I said, Sean, absolutely. Do it on one side. He had not been able to feel or move his left side of his body for 10 years. It took after 5 minutes. 5 minutes, Smith. He raised his hand again, and I'm like, yeah, Sean, what happened with you? And he's like, I don't understand this, but I can start to feel my hand. And he starts moving his fingers for the first time in a decade after doing this for literally 10 minutes, maybe. Another really good friend of mine, he's one of the best big wave surfers in the world. His name's Drew Brophy. And I met Drew in Costa Rica in November 2022, 11 months after he had recovered from being on a ventilator with COVID for 70 days, being in a coma for 30, and waking up on Christmas Day 2021 paralyzed from the neck down. He had to learn how to walk. He could not breathe on his own for about 3 months after he got out of the hospital. He had a machine breathing for him at home. And he was very weak and frail. And so I taught him the same exercise that I taught my friend Sean that I mentioned before, years before. And Drew, he was only able to walk up maybe 3 or 4 stairs at a time before he had to kind of stop and rest and catch his breath again because his lungs were so destroyed from COVID. Well, after this work, it was 5 minutes of doing this exercise. I could see tears in his eyes. And I walked over and I said, Drew, what happened to you? And he said, Nate, this is the best I've been able to breathe since I got sick. And the next day, because I've always wanted to learn how to surf, he and his wife, we were in Costa Rica, and I was taking a surf lesson. He came down to the beach, and not only did he and his wife teach me how to surf, and I caught some waves, he was able to paddle out and get waves himself for the first time since he got out of the hospital. But actually, since before. So things like that, where it's a very quick, rapid change, and then there are longer term benefits from doing this kind of breath work, just 10 minutes a day. And honestly, if people can't give themselves 10 minutes a day to extend their life and have feel awesome every single day, I don't know what to say to them. Because 10 minutes, most people spend a longer time than that in the bathroom every morning scrolling through cat videos doing their business. 10 minutes a day is definitely worth having more hours in every single day and more days in your life, right? And so at the longer term benefits, athlete, if there was ever a breathwork kind of training that maximizes athletic performance, whether it's explosive power, stamina, VO2 max, acid-base shift of the blood, this is it. That's why Merpati Putih is used in every branch of the Indonesian military, every one for the past 40 years. It works. It works fast. So for athletes, that's something that I would recommend. For soccer moms, this is something for stress reduction. Here in the United States, we have the Center for Disease Control, the CDC. On their website, it says that over 90% of all disease is caused by stress. 90%. So it stands to reason that if we can lower our stress and stop producing cortisol and the hormones of stress and start producing oxytocin and vasopressin and the hormones of health and positivity and gratitude, love, all the good feelings, well, it stands to reason we're going to do some good things for our body as well and just have a better experience of our life. That's what it's all about. Everybody's going to die. Sorry to break it to you people. Everybody's going to die unless you're a vampire, in which case, fine. Good luck with that. Right?
Cool.
But the thing is how do you want to live? And maybe you don't want to climb Mount Everest like some of my students have. Maybe you don't want to be the number 1 ranked boxer in the welterweight division in the world, like a good friend of mine who's one of my students is. But don't you want to be able to pick your kids up? Don't you want to be able to play with them as they get older and your body gets older, but your vitality can go through the roof and you can keep up with them? How about taking your stress and being able to shield yourself from other people's negative emotions and their negative thoughts, their negative statements, so that you're a more sovereign, mental, and energetic being? There's so many things. This is really a panacea in a lot of ways. It doesn't cure everything. I don't claim curing anything. But people who have come to me with asthma, almost every single one, after even just a month or two of this training, never needs their inhalers again. And asthma's gone through the roof in the past 20 years. And in the United States, it's actually the number one cause of children's hospitalizations and lost days at school. So if you just taught your kids how to breathe right and they did not have asthma anymore, and yes, it can be reversed, people, I've seen it happen at least 100 times. The thing is, we have these different things happen in our lives. They happen for our learning. They happen for our growth. And we get the chance to choose different in order to get a different result. And I'm just blessed that I can help people in my way, for my road to Rome, for people that are ready for this kind of work. They can step into that and they can start creating that better health for themselves and realize that they are the medicine, that every situation is for our growth. It's our medicine, not our poison. No matter how painful. That's a tough pill to swallow when things are not how we want them to be and they're really painful. But if we just ask those questions that I mentioned before, what do I want to experience now? What's better than this? What would that feel like? What would it be like? And how is this for me? How have I created this for my learning? What is the lesson here? And then listen, you just have to shut up. Ask the questions, let your mind, let your soul answer these things. And when the answer comes, sometimes it's an epiphany, a huge aha moment. Oh my God, yes, that's why. And once we realize it, we start to choose different. Don't be shocked when your whole life changes. And that's my business, really. That's my purpose here, is helping people change their own life. I don't change anybody's life. I let them do that for themselves. But I have some techniques and tricks that help them do that quickly.
What a mic drop moment. I love that. And I especially love how you mentioned that we need to listen to ourselves. I think so often we get in our own way. We have all the answers. To your point, we are the medicine, and we get in our own way to stop us from realizing that. And it sounds like you really unlocked someone's ability to be able to do that through your Integrated Ascension model. And so I'm interested to hear a bit more about that, and how could someone start to learn more about it? If hearing these stories are like, yep, this is the thing that I need to do. I'm ready. I'm here. Nate, my mentor, let's go. How can they start to learn more about what you do?
Integrated Ascension Method, Merpati Putti, as I mentioned, means white dove. So my brother and I, we actually split in business a couple of years ago because he has a different path. He's helping different people than I'm helping. So for myself, for a while, I was the white dove method because that's what it means in English, right? But what I've been doing now, Myth, is combining things like biohacking, vibroacoustic therapy, the Sensei 5-in-1 brain training headset with EEG brain training to actually change the neural patterns in the brain. I'm an emotion code and body code practitioner, so I can work with people all over the world remotely. It's a quantum healing modality that's patented in the United States. BioWell, for people that don't know what that is, it's an energy diagnostic tool that can literally tell where you have holes in your auric field. In Russia, it's actually used in a lot of medical centers. They have to have a good BioWell scan before they can go in for surgery. They won't do surgery if the person has their low energy is too low. So nutritional fitness, how to eat properly for the building blocks of our body. And then I work with an amazing company called Aria Organic. Aria has the most high quality, high vibration, energy infused Indian food that you can find. And you can see that on my website in my products page. But I love to mix in 21st century technology with the ancient things to bring the modern and the ancient together, because we have so many things that we can do now that we couldn't do before. And there are so many things that we've also lost the ability to perceive that were present but centuries ago. Bringing these together is a passion of mine. That's why the Integrated Ascension Method came about. And if people want to get more information, they can get a free class on my website. They can get my free book. They can also start their training without having to travel all the way to me and become one of my elite clients. They can do that with my online programs at my website, which is, I don't know how I was able to get this. I'm just really grateful I got this website. IamPure.energy. So not .com, it's IamPure.energy. Now, if I was a plumber, that wouldn't be the website for me. But considering what I do, I am pure energy. Can't beat that. So go there, look at my free class, then also my courses. And when you do that, Myth, I'm going to get you that coupon code. So anybody who goes there and uses Myth's, it'll be Myth10, MYF10. You'll get 10% off any of my digital courses as well, and use them in good health. We're here to have fun. We're here to experience. We're here to grow. I'm just blessed that I have some tools to help you do that as quickly as you possibly can and have a very, I'll say, a revelatory time as you do it, as far as your own capabilities and your own promise, your own purpose.
That's incredible and such a generous offer. Thank
My
you
pleasure.
so much. I really like to finish off podcast episodes by asking what's a really actionable step someone can do in the next 24, 48 hours to really move forward, or whatever the theme of the show is. But I feel like the next step that we should recommend today is for people to check out your website and download one of your free resources. I think, what do you have to say to that? I'm really inspired to go and do that now, but is there anything else you would recommend someone who's looking to start to unlock more of their potential?
The thing that we can do is remember our breath is the most important thing in our life. Be conscious of it. And, there is no one that goes through life with full awareness and presence all the time. No Buddhist monk, no Taoist immortal, the Dalai Lama doesn't. It's something that we have to bring ourselves back into remembering. Oh yeah, what time is it now? Where am I? I'm right here. And what am I going to be doing? I'm going to be being right here, right now. When I do that and I breathe in and I breathe out and I just keep my breath going, this is going to help me. And it's going to help anybody else who does this not worry about the past, not worry about the future, but be perfectly present right here. And that is by far and away one of the most important things that we as humans can do. Is not to be a human doing, but be a human being.
Beautiful. So I don't know what other better way to finish off this episode. Thank you so much, Nate, for that. I so appreciate your time and for sharing your incredible journey and expertise with us today.
Thank you, Matt, for having me. And everyone out there, create a great now on purpose.
Thank you for joining me today for another episode of the Actually You Can podcast. I so enjoy having you here, and I hope you've taken away powerful insights and tools that will support you to achieve your high-level results. Now, before you go apply all of this wisdom in your life, I would be so grateful if you are able to leave us a podcast review on the platform that you're listening to, or share this episode with a friend. Your support means that we can help more self-led, high-performing individuals just like you expand what's possible for them. I'd also love to hear your thoughts on today's episode, so please go on and shoot me a note on socials and let me know what you think. You can find me on Instagram at MythGalloway. Now, go ahead and make those dreams a reality, because actually, you can.